Singapore's external trade has swung into growth after a 13-month slump. It rose 1% on year thanks to a surge in pharmaceutical exports. While experts say that this is likely a one-time spike, a rising trend in electronic exports could sustain momentum. Richa Mathew with more.
Non-oil domestic exports, or NODX, for November reversed a 3.5% decline in October. The rise was driven by non-electronic shipments, specifically non-monetary gold and pharmaceuticals. But experts say it's more useful to look at the figures excluding them.
Pharmaceutical shipments tend to be quite volatile. Look at the non-electronics exports excluding pharmaceuticals. And although this component is still in contraction, they're actually improving when we look at the 3-month moving average year-on-year trend. So non-electronics excluding pharmaceuticals is starting to improve.
Conversely, electronic shipments remain in the red, shrinking double digits, a drop worse than the 5.6% in October. Semiconductors and personal computers drove this fall. Yet, experts say it's not as bad as it looks. On year, the 3-month moving average of electronic exports has narrowed to 2%, the best performance in a year.
Some of the items like the integrated circuits, the PCs, and also the semiconductors to start seeing some improvements due to the lower base effects, and also as the prices start to stabilize and as the global electronics cycle start to turn. I think this will help with some of the growth numbers for these items.
Stepping into the new year, analysts say this could drive a partial recovery, especially as consumers shift their preference away from the services and towards merchandise goods.
I think one thing that has weighed on the overall export growth this year, not just for Singapore but for the rest of Asia, is that the supply chains have been relatively constrained and there have been a lot of delays. So now with the supply chains starting to function much more smoothly, I think that will also help with the export growth outlook for next year.
Some caution that the global economic environment remains uncertain.
So some challenges for Singapore exports will include high interest rates in advanced economies, still bumpy conditions in China, and let's not forget about geopolitical tensions that could still disrupt supply chains.
Exports to the country's top markets declined as a whole, but shipments to the United States reversed the previous month's decline. Exports to China also continue to rebound, rising another 13.7% year-on-year.